Hello and welcome back to the Onsite Inside podcast, your guide through the world of construction, craftsmanship, and the stories behind the structures we build. I'm your host, Garnett Tomkins, and today's episode is a family affair as I introduce a guest close to me, my brother, Garnett Tomkins. Raised in the heart of Western Sydney, before finding his feet in peaceful Bribie Island, Garnett is the eldest of two and a man of passion. From his early love for basketball and social gatherings to excelling academically, he's someone who's always been destined for great things. Yet, it was school holidays, carpentry work with our dad that set him on his current path. Although gradually, what didn't start out as love at first sight, the building game has grown into a devoted career, leading him to become a respected building supervisor for a renowned boutique builder here in Brisbane. Beyond the building sites, Garnett's life is full of adventure, from four-wheel driving and camping trips to cherished moments with his wife and two kids. Today he joins us to share his journey on how he built the career from the ground up, the challenges, the triumphs, and everything along the way, and the insight he's gained. Garnett, it's an honour to have you. Welcome to the Onsite Inside podcast. But yeah, man, if you want to just like give the listeners and stuff a bit of a backstory on yourself and where you're from. I know.
Yeah.
But
Years.
yeah, I know, but
We're brothers.
Yeah, I know, but basically, just tell them, where you're from. What?
I guess.
Bit of it. I know you've got a massive story on what happened.
I'll go as brief as I can.
Yeah.
I mean, you know yourself, mate. We've always been in construction. That's Dad's history. We got brought into it. From a young age, I worked quite hard on the tools. And that was more of an inspiration not to be on the tools. So I ended up going and studying building design, and with the idea of going on to design tasks, getting off the tools. But the way it seems is that you end up going back to what you know, and you end up going through and getting my carpentry trade. And from there I decided, let's start a business. And from starting a business, then you grew. And from that, obviously, comes a lot of lessons. And I'm more than happy to talk about those lessons today.
Yeah.
And what, I guess, I can bring some knowledge and some insight as to what you should be doing and some of the things that you shouldn't be doing. Some of the things that you quite easily miss and some of the things that you miscalculate very easily. So I'm happy to go into them,
Yeah, sweet. So let's go back to early on in the piece. What was it like when you were around, you just finished school? What was what were the jobs that you were doing at that time? Were you going from job to job? Were you, how did that all look at that point in time?
So,
I know for you, I know a lot of you guys looking on the camera won't realise how old he is, but
no, I've done everything from working in an abattoir to working as a tree lopper, a lot of sales. I've done everything from hospitality. Yeah, I've done working in multiple clubs in Brisbane. From there, then going into marketing. From marketing, venturing back to what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I'm going to say this: it's a good thing to not know what to do. There's not one job that you will ever do that will not be useful for the next. You'll value a lot from things that are unrelated to the particular job that you're doing now. So sales has helped me a lot with confidence. Sales helped me a lot with relatability and building rapport with clients.
I think sales is good for any industry.
100%.
I think at the end of the day, everyone's 100%. Selling something. So,
and I think majority of the people in this industry probably could do with a little bit more relationship skills. Not personally, more professionally. Knowing how to read what clients are doing, how they're thinking, reading those cues, body languages, tones. It all serves a good purpose to understand what they're actually saying without them actually saying it. So I think that was a very big valuable asset that I got from early on in those sorts of fields. But the other jobs, man, they were shit jobs. They were real shit jobs. And I did them for money.
Yeah. But that's like most people. And I think, a lot of the guys that are listening out there, I think not everyone, I sort of say it to a lot of the guys that we're looking to employ in that, and yeah, like not everyone looks at a job as like, oh, you know, I'm going to climb the ranks and be here forever. Like not unfortunately, but the reality is a job is a job. People need to get paid and people need to put food on the table. So, you know, not everyone's going to be invested just as much as you are in your business or whatever you're doing at that point in time. You know, people just need to get their fucking bills paid.
I would like to think that the majority of your listeners had ambition, had drive, and not everyone has to. It's not a requirement to work. But I think majority of the guys in construction, they have an ambition to take it further.
Yeah, they want to thrive for more.
But it's important to remember that not every venture that you set a path upon is going to yield the fruits of what you're doing. So being able to be in a job, whether it's shit or not, digging holes isn't fun, but you need to know how to do it, and it's part of the job. So being able to withstand those shit jobs, and then realising when those jobs aren't going to yield any benefit, to be able to adapt is an important thing as well. But that's not to say that you don't like a job, just quit. You need to stick through things to see the benefits.
To see it through, yeah.
Yeah, so
that goes for all you apprentices out there thinking to quit every single week. Just see it through. There's
always threats on always threats on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, when it's raining, I hate my life. Yeah, just see the job through.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, that was early on. You went from job to job, for money.
Yep.
Do we can cut this in anyway, but do you want to touch on anything about like the other stuff, like the trouble and stuff, or do you want to skip that and we'll just go to we can just carry on from the GLNG and stuff. You don't have to, like, fuck it. We don't. No, but I'm serious.
Yeah,
you don't have to.
I don't.
If you don't want to fucking touch on it, we'll just skip. It's all good.
No, I won't touch on personal stuff.
Yeah.
But I will.
I think what I'm trying to say is, like, at what point, how did you go from, because there's people out there listening that want to be a supervisor or they want to get off the tools.
I think it's important if you're going to be doing that line of conversation. It's important. Yeah. It's important for us to talk about resilience and about bouncing back.
Yeah. Because I'm not going to lie, like you yourself, like me and you both know, there was periods that were just shit,
Mate. I don't have to go into it.
Yeah, and we can sit here for hours and talk about it.
There's been situations where I know that majority of people would struggle to get over. I had to do jobs I didn't like.
Yeah.
I had to. I had gotten jobs, but then had to quit for certain reasons. A lot of walls that I had to overcome.
Yeah.
And that's character building.
Yeah.
The more that you get knocked down or the more that you fall over, the better you are at getting up.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I pride myself on,
the
ability to get up. And that's what I guess I think you need to sort of be able to do. And I don't think a lot of people have that these days.
No, I think, like, in the thing that I find with the guys that we've got, and going back to that little statement that you just made then about, like, doing a job that you don't like, define that. I always have this argument with one particular employee of mine about, he doesn't enjoy this or doesn't enjoy that, and it's like, well, you have to find. My biggest thing is, like, you're never going to love everything. It doesn't matter if you find your best, the dream job of your life, you are not going to love every aspect of it, right? So you have to find joy within that job. You have to find joy within the shit, within the stuff that you're doing. You have to be able to find joy doing it. So, not every day is going to be roses and lollipops. It's going to be wet. It's going to be cold. It's going to be miserable. But hey, you have to rely on something, whether it's music, the guys that you're with, the banter, your partner, fucking, who knows? Just telling yourself a joke. Like, you just got to get through it. So a lot of the guys that I'm finding at the moment now these days, it's like, you know, oh, I only want to be doing this, or I only want to be doing that. And as soon as they're not, within a week or two, you know, you get a week or two of shit weather, your phone starts ringing. Fuck this, fuck that. I don't want to, you know, I don't do this anymore.
I think there's a very practical thing in relation to people complaining about the shit jobs. I've been in a very similar situation. I had two apprentices at the time, and I told them that we would be hand digging holes for a deck. They both looked at me and went, why would we hand dig them when you've got an auger? I said, well, the ground is too rocky to use the auger. You're going to get thrown off that auger against a fence post and probably snap an arm. So you're going to hand dig them. So they were complaining, right? And that's granted. I expected them to complain about that. But the practical reason for it is, I said, it's good for you to know how to dig a hole, because then you know how long it takes to dig that hole, which enables you then to price how long it takes to dig that hole. And then you can grasp the difficulty of the task, which allows you to have empathy for your employees when you give that task at a later purpose. So just otherwise, if I asked them before they dug that hole how long it would take, they'd sit there and say 5 minutes. Now they know it takes 2 hours. So it's a good understanding that those difficult tasks will never end. They're always going to be delegated to somebody. So at least if you're going to delegate them, you should have known how to have done those difficult tasks. So it's definitely important.
Someone's got to do it, and that's my argument with apprentices. And you know, when they say, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, it's like, well, okay, well, who's going to do it then? Because I'm not. You know what I mean? I nearly had one instance where I had to go and get an example. I had to go and get a tool. You know, I asked the apprentice to go get it, and I'm not going to go and get it. So I stopped what I was doing. I looked at them and I said, listen, if I go get it, if you don't want to get it, if I go get it, then what's the point of having you here?
Legit.
That's the reality of it. If I have to do those tasks, what is the point of having you employed? Because everyone's got a job here. The qualifieds have got a job. I've got a job. You've got a job. And each job entails the tasks that are at hand. And if you can't fulfill yours, then you're not fulfilling your job. If it means you got to dig a hole, you got to get lunch, you got to get tools, whatever it is that you got to do. And I guess the biggest argument as well is, like, I don't know what happened to the days of, like, if your boss says to you, like, go and get me lunch. Apprentices these days, oh no, I don't get paid to do that. I'm not a fucking slave. Bro, slaves didn't get paid as well as you. You know what I mean? This is slave labor. Really? There's no such thing as slave labor. If you're a slave, So,
look, we could go on. It's a difficult topic to go on about, but I mean, you know yourself, legislation and guidelines and rules are now putting a lot more strain on conditions at work. We are having to have. I believe our apprentices and our employees are a lot softer than they used to be.
I think they're a lot smarter, but you know, I feel like social media, as great as it is, plays a part in that, because you know, if you're an apprentice, prime example, if you're an apprentice, it's pissing down rain, you're on your lunch break, you jump on TikTok, the first video you see is another guy, nice and warm inside a house. And his apprentice has got a video saying, oh, look at us. We just sit around for 6 hours and then we're going to go home. Where before, when there wasn't that around, you know, you didn't really have your phone on you. You were just literally just, you know, you were in the zone. You were just in your environment, where now with the joys of phones and everything like that, you can compare your current situation to the situation that's not even, you know, available to you. So... and that goes for nearly everything, you know. You compare yourself all the time. So, But anyway, so moving on from, you know, I think I can interject now where I can remember stuff going on. So going back about 12 years, it's when I started my little journey, obviously amongst school holidays and all that sort of stuff. I think we ended up working together. We were in the mines up at Gladstone. And that was, 2.5 years of fucking.
It was a good trip.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That was something that was quite good. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head. Were you studying? Had you already completed your study for your building design by then, or were you?
So at that particular time, I talk about persistence. So I had been studying my building design for approximately 10 years. Okay, now that's a long time. All right, that is a very long time. But let me explain why.
It's 10 years, guys, for a 9-month course.
Yeah. Well, it's actually a 2-year course. But let me explain it. So when I first started doing my building design, it was all penciled. Everything had to be penciled.
Oh, I remember that. You sitting down with that big old bloody graph paper and
graph board, traced, inked.
Yeah.
Everything had to be done hand. Then I went to P&G.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right.
How was that?
It's another story.
Yeah. Guy sitting at the front of your room with a bloody.
It's another story. Yeah, it's big. So when I come back again, then I had to use a program called AutoCAD, which most people would be familiar with. Then I went from there straight up to Gladstone with yourself. So I was still studying. I had to learn AutoCAD. Then when I come back from there, I decided I'll continue my course. But every time I went back and did my course, I didn't receive any credits because it was a new course.
So it was moving.
They moved the goalposts every time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until probably 6 years ago I finished my building design.
Yeah.
And that was actually in a classroom at TAFE.
Yeah.
So I did correspondence, and then actually went to a classroom. And then that was it. But it was a long road. Funny enough, I don't even do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question is if you could go back, would you have stressed and forked out the money and done it? Like I understand that there's experience, but would you have injected that into something else, or are you glad that you got the experience from, like obviously you'd be glad that you got the experience from it, but if you could relive it again, would you do it again, knowing what you know now?
If it's funny with most guys. So most guys at a young age, when I left school, university isn't something that you really want to do.
No.
It's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
You were sick of high school to start with, let alone stressing over grade 12 or grade 10 if that's where you're at. The last thing you want to do is go to another institute and spend another 4 years sitting there, learning about something that is not particularly something you're interested in. All for a piece of paper. You're not even sure you know what you're going to do at the end.
No.
But knowing what I know now, I probably would have gone back and done a few uni degrees.
Yeah.
Only because my age, when you get older, you start learning that you're actually hungry for knowledge.
Yeah.
You realise that you can only get so far with what you earn out of a trade.
Yeah.
There is a ceiling to what a trade can provide for you.
Yeah.
Unless you own your own business, and then still a ceiling to what jobs you can do until you skill up.
Yeah, licensing and everything.
So if I could go back, I probably would have done something a bit more substantial, which allowed me to climb the ranks a bit easier. Now I'm still studying. So I mean, it doesn't end. You just got to keep studying and moving up. So.
Yeah, no, sweet. All right, guys, congratulations. You're halfway through this episode. I hope you guys are really enjoying it. But first, I just want to make a special thank you to Ideal Group Australia. Without them, I wouldn't be able to bring this podcast to you. So special thank you. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Buckle in and get ready to listen to the end of this episode. So I just wanted to know now, the journey that you had with your RPL and all that, how was that? Was it good?
It's intense.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is intense. So
the reason why I ask is that we've got guys that are, that say to me, I'm just going to RPL, And I say to them, I'm like, listen, I don't feel like you really understand. If you want to go out there and be a labourer for 4 years and just, then you're going to say, oh, I'm just going to RPL the rest. I feel like they really don't understand the journey that you have to take if you're going to go down that path. So
look, it's not a path that you take if you have the opportunity to have an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
There are no benefits for you going out there doing a labouring position and then RPLing.
Yeah.
Absolutely none. If you're talking about making a couple of extra bucks, that'll all get negated on your first year as being a qualified carpenter, because the knowledge that you should have obtained, it won't be there.
Yeah.
Saying that, there are good companies to do RPLs and there are crap ones. Some will ask, and they all have a registered training organisation, and they have the proper pathways to follow to make sure you're qualified and competent at that particular module. But, they're all going to do it slightly differently. The one that I went through, I would have been just over 30 when I did my RPL. But I'd had the privilege of working with Dad. The privilege of working with 2 other building companies. And I was showing other carpenters what to do.
Yeah.
I already done my building design qualification.
Yeah.
So as far as the technical knowledge, I knew how to draw it. I knew how things went together. I knew about installation guides. I knew about detailing. I knew about connections.
Yeah.
Standards. So a lot of those things I had a good background in the technical side of things.
Yeah.
And the practical side of things I could apply very easily. The final assessment though was pretty much how I got mine. I breezed through majority of the RPL.
Yeah.
But I still needed to submit. My video was about 8 hours long. Ended up travelling to Sydney to Nathaniel's business. He's our cousin who has a development company down there. So I ended up getting one of his employees to follow me around for a full day, showing every stage of a build on a townhouse development, and running through the do's, the don'ts, the what ifs, the what checks, and whatnot through the whole lot. Yeah, it was exhausting just to talk for a whole 8 hour run, going through the whole lot.
It's like a vlog.
It was insane.
Yeah.
So after doing that, you get your RPL. I don't feel like that I missed anything.
Yeah.
If I did feel like I missed anything, I would have stopped the RPL process and gone, no, I need to learn this or I need to learn that.
Yeah.
But you need to have the right mindset. You can't go into an RPL course thinking, oh, I'll just do RPL. Yeah. The objection of the RPL is to learn the content, and if you don't learn the content or learn the skills, stop the RPL, learn it, and then proceed.
Yeah. I just see like a lot of guys out there that it's the dollar thing. They in their head they're like, I'll just go be a labourer and then I'll just RPL my whole thing. I'm like, you're going into it with the wrong. You got the opportunity here to.
Yeah, to be fair, I've met a lot of qualified carpenters that have gone through the traditional sense of doing an apprenticeship. Their knowledge is very lacking.
Yeah.
That's because of how they learnt their trade.
Yeah.
That's not because that process is a crap process.
Yeah.
Me, for example, I went RPL, but I was very interested in hand pitching. I was very interested in working in my rise and runs of stairs. I was very interested in the standards, very interested in the installation guides and following the rules. And that's something that I think is missed a lot these days, is the fundamentals behind just standing a frame. Yeah. The fundamentals behind just putting cladding on walls. I mean, start learning more about the carpentry than just putting things together.
Yeah.
But yeah, RPL, I'm not going to knock it. I'm not going to encourage it. But definitely, if you're at a stage of your life where being an apprentice isn't feasible, I mean, at that stage I was married. I had a kid. I wasn't going to go back.
That's all right. We spoke to Chris, a few weeks back. He's literally same. Yeah, he was 20. Can't remember how old he was. He was in his like nearly 30, and he did RPL. He had his first kid, another one on the way, and
was 30.
Yeah.
Child, married.
Yeah.
I had.
I think the benefit is as well is that we, whether we wanted to or not, we got thrown into this industry, and Dad was very passionate about it. He'd been doing it for ages, and then his dad was doing it. So we were privileged enough to have that background in that. Like,
But what
you know,
benefits? I think what benefits us in our experience is we weren't thrown into the traditional sense of building. We were thrown on the skirts, on the edges.
Yeah.
And we got to learn all the outside of the way boxes of doing things.
Oh,
You know, everything from commercial maintenance
yeah.
to really obscure renovations.
All right, I've done that. I know it doesn't seem like it now with the company that I'm running, but I've laid that many lineal meters or square meters of vinyl flooring. Like, you wouldn't think so.
No.
But hey, give me a vinyl welder and I'll show you how to
Yeah.
use it. You know what I mean? No one, but none of the guys that I work with would know anything about it. But yeah, we did heaps of stuff, heaps of different little knick-knacky things, and doing this and doing that, and you know.
Yeah. So
Dad had he had a very strong stance point on a lot of carpentry related things, but
and some non-carpentry things.
a lot of shit. So, but you know, it was good. So the last thing to touch on with that is knowing what you know now. I've got one more question after this one, but knowing what you know now, and you know the path that you're on at the moment, because believe it or not, we're all still, you know, on our journey to do whatever we want to do, like doing what we're doing. So knowing what you know now, the journey that you're on, would you, if you could go back, would you start an apprenticeship earlier? I know this is all in hindsight. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but knowing what you know now, would you start apprenticeship earlier, or would you go down the university path earlier? Like, would you go, okay, I know, you know, I know you can't change time, but I'm just more saying, like, knowing what you know now, would you say to the person listening out there that's, you know, that's starting out, that's fresh, would you say to them, hey, listen, knowing what I know now, I'm a supervisor, I reckon it's better to do your apprenticeship, or if you don't love it, get into a university degree?
Look, we're talking about an industry that is in desperate need of trade. I mean, if we were talking about a different career path, there's such a thing called education inflation. So it's where, for example, off topic, say nurses used to have to go to TAFE, or they used to have to do their training in an actual hospital. I mean, nowadays it's at a uni. There are a lot of other trades out there that you didn't need to have a qualification for per se, but now they're getting slowly more required to have a qualification for. So the need for upskilling earlier is always going to be there. To think that you can finish grade 10, go and do your carpentry trade, and that's going to be it. Yeah, that's not it. It's naive. It's very naive to think that.
Just so all the apprentices, just to interject real quick, but all the apprentices that are out there that are thinking, oh, once I get my qualification, I'll be driving a G-Wagon. It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
You're just an apprentice again, but this time around you're an apprentice that's qualified.
Yeah.
So.
And to be truthful about it, even if you do finish your trade at an early age and you end up getting that Land Cruiser loan, the rates that you're going to be working for are not going to help you sustain that. It's just not going to be there. I mean, you really need to think outside the box and start thinking about other options there. So going back to your question, if I was to go back and go to uni straight away, I'd like to think that I would go to uni, but I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the cards for my thinking.
Yeah.
Even if I was forced.
Yeah. You just didn't want to do it.
I wouldn't have wanted to stay.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. I'm now, let's say 40. All right, let's just say 40.
He's old.
Yeah. All right. So let's pretend that I started my working career at 20. So I've worked for 20 years. I'm going to retire when I'm 70. That's legitimate. Like majority of people aren't going to be retiring at 50.
No.
I mean, good luck if it's 60. But more than likely, it's going to be closer to 70.
Yeah, that's if they don't keep pushing the fucking retirement age back and back and back.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I started off at 20 and I'm now 40, I haven't even gone through half of my working career yet. So to now start thinking of me, I'm 40, I can't do anything more. I'm prematurely just giving up on my career. Until you hit that halfway point, you're only on the up still.
Yeah.
So if I don't know if there's any listeners out there that are 35 and they're thinking,
I'm sure there is, yeah.
Or listeners out there that are 40, or listeners out there 45. You've still got a lot of your work left in you. And it's not too late to say to yourself, well, maybe I should get that extra course.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe I should go and do that management course. Maybe I should go and do that Cert 4.
Yeah.
Maybe go for the diploma.
Yeah.
And do it sooner than later because, for example, you've done your advanced diploma.
I did my diploma.
You did your diploma. So I did my certificate 4. I thought you can't just go do the diploma anymore.
Nah, so this
You've
was
got to do the Cert 4.
So let's actually, we can digress in this. So I'm currently speaking to an employee of ours, and he asked me, what did I do? How did I do it? Da 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 da. I just said to him, I said, listen, what I did is I was currently working as a chippy, and I did night schools for like 4 or 5 nights a week. You seeing me, I was there from 5 till 9, 4 or 5 nights a week. So I did that for 9 to 12 months, and passed it, got my diploma. And so he was looking into it, and then he sent me the link, and I jumped in, and I was like, same company, same everything. I looked in there, and I went, what the hell? I got a prerequisite. I jumped in there, and I had a look. Yeah. So now you need a cert. Now you need your certificate 4. Plus, the course is no longer 9 to 12. No. It's 18.
No.
18 to 24 or whatever it is.
That's exactly right. So they're always going to change the goalposts on you for your requirements for the courses, for the licensing. So don't think to yourself, and I'm an encourager, if you're an apprentice out there and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'll wait till I get qualified, or I'll wait till I get this first and I'll do this. Don't. I mean, while life hasn't got that much demand on you,
get in and get it done.
Get it done fast, because you're going to pay for it.
The sooner you know what you want to do, like the sooner you're like, all right, I'm going to give my all to this industry and this is what I want to do. If people are in your ear saying, hey, you should do this, jump in with all hands and just do it, because the sooner you get it done, then, you can move on, and, that's when your family and like life starts to get busy. So,
mate, I'm telling you now, you've got a daughter that does ballet, you got a daughter that does gymnastics, and you've got a son that's starting the piano, then you've got swimming lessons, and then you've got choir on a Saturday, and then you've got everything else that gets thrown in between as one full-time job. Study becomes very hard if you leave it
100%.
I mean, like you did, we probably went through the same institute as you. Night courses, they're not hard. You guys are just on TikTok anyway.
There wasn't TikTok back then. But basically, it's just...
guys now listening.
Oh, yeah.
They're on TikTok or Facebook.
100%.
You might as well go and spend 2 hours of the night or 3 hours of the night and learn something that's going to make you more moolah later on.
Yeah. It might not seem like it at the point in time that it's going to make you more money. And to be honest, it may be not for the next 10 years. But you've then got that qualification.
Yep.
So then when you step into a role that... you'll always have that thing. So, for me, I've looked at maybe going in for my advanced, but I don't really see a need for it for myself anyway at the moment. I think, I'm not in my professional career, what I'm doing now, I don't see myself really exceeding past the qualification that I got. Am I grateful that I did it? To be honest, I was speaking to another guy the other night, and I can't even... the hours that I was doing at that point in time and the night school, obviously we were me and you were in different circumstances, but I could, like, looking back now, I was like, fuck, like, there's no way that I could do that now. Like, I was doing like 50 or 60 hour weeks, plus working Saturdays, plus we were renovating that house. So I was living in a renovation at the time, and would work all day, have the trailer on the back, and drive the truck and trailer to the
city.
To the city, and then do the night school. Have dominant, like, they might get pizzas and stuff. I'd usually just have that for dinner, and that'd be it. I'd go home, go to bed. But I'm glad I did. But it's crazy to think. But hey, that's not diminishing the guys that are out there that are listening now. I still feel like, regardless if it's 12, 18 months, you're saying to yourself, oh, it's going to take too long. I'm telling you now, if you don't do it now, in fucking 5 years, when you're sitting back and you're like, I should do it, it's now going to no longer be 18 months. It's going to be 2.5 years, 3 years, triple the cost. So just fucking bite the bullet, get it done. Back then, when they said 9 to 12 months of night school for me, mind you, I was single, wanted to go out. Like, that was the last thing I fucking wanted to do. But I just fucking bit the bullet, had people on me saying, no, just do it. And just fucking did it. So, don't be diminished by the time or how long you think it's going to take you. Just get in, get it done, and
I guess for anyone listening in relation to doing further studies, you don't see the benefit until you start knowing what you're talking about. You can be an apprentice, you can be a first year qualified carpenter, but then you're in a position where you're speaking to a supervisor and you can relate to what they're talking about. You understand what tasks they're going to be doing, you know the lingo, and then when you're actually a proposition for a job that you require the qualification for, it's not appearing like you've just got the qualification. You've had the qualification for years. I mean, for example, yourself, you've had your qualification for quite a while now, but when you decide to present that to somebody, it doesn't look like you've just got it. It shows that you've had that for years now, and that only gives it merit. It gives it merit that you've been qualified for a long time, even though you may not have used it a lot. It gives you merit for having that. So, yeah, just as Corey said, go for it.
Yeah, just if you know it's something that you want to do, just do it, and then it's done. So, what's the study that you're currently doing now? Are you going?
Yeah, so I'm continuing this course of management.
Yeah.
I know people don't like managers, but we need them.
Oh, well, in fairness, you pretty much are in a manager role now anyway.
Yeah. So I'm doing construction management, so just a bachelor in construction management.
Yeah.
So I'm about 9 months in now.
Yeah.
So it's a tough road.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. It's very demanding doing a full-time job and studying full-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it would be a breeze. I thought, that's easy.
Yeah.
But it's assignments every week.
Yeah.
And
yeah, for me, I originally signed up to do it through TAFE, through like correspondence, and failed straight away. So
it's hard by
I had to do face to face. I just said to myself, I've got to do face to face, and thank the shout out to the guy Steve, that was our teacher there. He is an absolute weapon. So, he knows a lot.
I will say something about correspondence. It's the institute, yes, but it's the support of the people that are around you that will help you succeed. Don't rely on the institute or your own determination to get you through.
Yeah.
Have that support network around you, whether it be your wife or your parents, that will actually push you to do that assignment, because the last thing you want to do on a Friday afternoon or on a Sunday afternoon or on a Thursday afternoon or on a Monday morning before you start work is finish that assignment.
Yeah.
Even though everyone will be saying, it's not that hard, you can just go and do it. No, you get to those points where it's that chaotic at work that you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Have that support network around you that will encourage you to do it, because you need it.
Yeah.
Just like you do need teachers at school, just like you need teachers at uni or lecturers at uni.
Yeah.
Having that support network helps you get through those correspondence courses. So
that's good. All right. Well, I've got one last question, and this is probably going to be the one that is going to help a lot of the listeners out there. And I think we're missing a vital part of your journey, because it hasn't, for yourself, you've got a mad journey. And so you started up your own business in carpentry. And so digress into that, because that's a big part of your that's a huge part of your whole journey. And 100%. I think me and you've had ample discussions about it. And,
you turn back the clock, okay, and you I'm picturing myself watching this same podcast, okay, and you look at the opportunities and you look at an adventure in front of you with the tools that you have: carpentry trade, QBCC license, good contracts in front of you, cash flow positive. Yeah. These are all good things.
So just to jump in real quick before you keep going. So just for the listeners, when did you start your business? And when was how did that all, what was there a point in time where you said, because I know a lot of guys out there are like, I don't know if I should, when I should, what was the decision that you made you do it? And
so there's normally a few decisions why you want to start your own business. Majority of the time, it's because you feel like there's a ceiling cap above you as to your earning capacity.
Yeah.
So there's two main ways you can make money. You either do more hours,
Yeah.
or you get a better hourly rate.
Yeah.
You get both, that's great.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be a limit to what you can earn. There's
Yeah.
only so many hours in a day, and your boss is only ever going to pay you
Yeah.
up to a certain rate before
Yeah.
he says no.
Yeah.
So for me, it was an opportunity for me to go out and see what I could make myself.
Yeah.
And things were good. Things were good. I started off small. I started off doing decks, patios.
You got pretty
rentals.
big. You got fucking.
Yep.
You got a pretty big business for a bit there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was going pretty good. And then I guess in the midst of it all, you go through and you start assessing job by job how things are going.
And just to clarify for the listeners, so your business was primarily at the start anyway. What were you doing?
So
what were
at
you
the
doing?
start,
And how did you get there? Like, what was the so
Yeah.
your first jobs? Like, what was your?
So if you go do your if you do your Cert 4 or you do your management course, which is what you're required to do for your QBCC license as a carpenter, they'll run you through the basic steps on how to run and start up a business. They'll talk to you about your policies, your procedures, your mission of your goal of your company. And for me, my main goal for my company was to stay small, to have approximately 3 to 4 employees, and then to stay to decks, bathroom renovations, those sorts of small projects, stuff that would generally take between a week to 3 to 4 weeks to complete.
Yeah.
Long enough for me to throw the boys on, do a couple of quotes. If I win one out of those 3 or 4 quotes for the month,
Yeah.
it sets me up for the next couple of months. So that was the main goal. And
And hopefully make some bucks along the way.
yeah, we
obviously.
did. We made some good money.
Yeah.
I also had contracts with insurance builders.
Yeah.
We did a number of those. Insurance builders were quite busy. We were booked up for nearly 12 months at one stage.
Yeah. Yeah, because you were doing heaps for Suncorp and stuff at the time.
Suncorp,
Heaps.
Amy,
Yeah.
a lot of those big guys. So from then, we decided to venture off into new builds, mainly for the fact that we were tapping into that COVID sort of space.
And how many years were you in business up until then, until you started stepping into the new build stuff?
It would have been probably 18 months.
Yeah.
Probably 18 months.
Yeah.
As a company. Before that, I was sole trading for quite a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went off into the new build stuff because COVID was starting to cause things a little bit difficult to get access.
Yeah. It was easier to get access to a job site where no one was living versus working in Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Yeah.
So, but as some you may know, it's very easy to have the wool pulled over your eyes with these big guys. So pay caution to what you're signing. Pay caution to what they're actually paying you for.
And I think the biggest thing, sorry, I'll let you keep going, but I just want to interject now because we're getting to the part now where you're still on one side of the coin, but now you know both sides of the coin. So I think, you know, for the guys out there that are currently doing it, the one piece of advice I can give you is just, you know, as Garnett said, don't go for the low-hanging fruit. Know your numbers and, you know, be strong enough and confident enough that if for any reason it, you know, doesn't align with your business or you don't feel like you're going to make money, walk away from it. Not walk away, but just don't do that sort of work. So, but anyway, just, yeah.
I guess going back, the numbers will always add up in your favour if that's what your objective is.
Yeah.
And when I say it that way, I mean you need to be critical and actually look at the numbers without any bias. So don't look at those figures and think positively about the job until you don't think positively about the job first. Think at the job first, then look at the figures, then you have a decision what to make. Don't look at each job and go, wow, I've got another job, got another job, and be happy about it. Look at the job first. Now, I'm not saying that I did that, but
you can get caught, but the thing is, you get, like anyone does, you get caught in the fucking rat race of, you know.
So you've got to have the ability to adapt. So don't just sit there and go, okay, well, it's not working. We'll just change what we're doing here. We'll change. Don't be afraid to leave a company. Don't be afraid to change what you're doing. Don't be afraid to go outside what you would normally do to try to make it work. But for me, and I feel like I'm incriminating my own industry here, but for me, I found that I wasn't equipped with the staff that I had to be doing the number of jobs that we had. It ended up getting to where I had around 14 guys.
Yeah.
I was running 3 jobs at a time.
Yeah. And this is in the this is in the new build. This
is when I just started the new build.
Yeah.
And if anyone's in this new build industry, your biggest downfall or your biggest profit killer is callbacks.
Callbacks, yeah.
Not only does it affect your job that you're currently on, but it's money that you're paying your boys to go and do something that you never equated for. So you're making losses and also causing delays at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and the callbacks were massive.
Yeah.
Not callbacks necessarily for things we've done as a mistake.
Yeah.
But for all the extras that you get dragged in to do.
Yeah.
So.
But don't get me wrong. Like, no job's perfect. No carpentry crew is perfect. Everyone has mistakes. And I think the biggest thing that I find anyway in the project space of doing, we do a lot of new builds and stuff now, but the biggest thing that I find is that, yes, there's money to be made, nothing's ever perfect. There's always going to be a mistake. But especially in that new build project space, there is no extra meat left for callbacks.
No.
So that's my biggest thing. It's like, but if you just don't stuff it up, you won't have to get called back. Well, in reality, I don't think I've ever met anyone that in our space anyway. Plumbers, sparkies, all that sort of stuff. It's pretty straightforward, right? With us, we're actually building the structure that everyone else puts their shit on. So there's guaranteed in all those moving parts, there's going to be something, but there is no fucking fat left for callbacks. And the thing is, when you're doing, as you were saying, when you're doing it with that scale, little thing here, little thing there, before you know it.
Yep. It blows out of proportion to the point where you almost need to put a stop. You got to put a stop sign up, and you've got to gather all the shit together.
Yeah. Get
it all fixed and press the start button again.
Yeah.
And it got to that point where I was doing that a few times. Now, keep in mind, when you've got that many crews running around, you're doing work for multiple supervisors.
Yeah.
And each supervisor has their own agenda.
Yeah.
So their job is a priority over the other supervisors. Yeah. So now you're
and if you're doing stuff for multiple builders too, and this is what I say to, we could talk about this for hours and hours, but this is what I say to a lot of guys that are out there, like new guys that we speak to about business and stuff, like talking about like doing work for. I always say to them, each builder, each supervisor, each certifier, each engineer, every single person, that little team of people on that job are all different. We've been on jobs where the supervisor's been fucking fantastic, the builder's fantastic, the certifier's an absolute cunt. Shouldn't say cunt because that's a really bad word, but the supervisor, the certifier has been a pain in the ass. So, and the engineer has been a pain in the ass. But flip side, we've been on jobs where the supervisor has been an absolute a-hole, right? But the builder that we deal with, great. Certified, great. Engineer, great. But the supervisor, dicks. So, it just really depends. But so depending on who you're working for, the builder, the supervisor, everyone's different. Yeah. And when you're running that sort of size crew, So it had its challenges, and it got to the point where pretty much I got fed up with being prodded and proned all over the place. And this particular builder, I advised him, I said, these are the last jobs I'm accepting. And then I made the space and ventured off over to townhouses. And from there, I did 2 sets of townhouses on. And, I got burnt pretty bad. obviously we can digress for ages, but you know, Garnett's speeding up the story about all the ins and outs on how he's got there. But yeah, it's So stepping into the townhouses, you've gone from doing. I'm assuming when you were doing the other stuff, it was more just standalone houses, like one here, one there.
There were a couple of townhouses in them, but it was mainly standalone high sets and low sets and high sets and low sets.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess I'm not trying to convey to you what tasks I did. I'm trying to convey to you exactly what things I did, and then I can go through exactly what I think I would have done differently.
Yeah. So now stepping into your townhouse side, how did you?
Going into that side of thing, it's a little bit of a different way of thinking. You're no longer spending 1 week or 2 weeks on a job. You're spending months on a job. So it's a bit of a different process because you're going to be doing the one task for quite a long time, and generally speaking, after you finish that task, you're going straight on to the next task. So you're not leaving that job site sometimes for a year. But I'm not going to name the builder.
Let's just clarify, they're no longer around.
They're no longer around. I've had my brother actually help me out a little bit on that particular project. But same situation. I had a crew. I downsized and had a crew of 9 guys. And this is what I like to talk about is about they're always going to try and get as much as they can out of you. Now, for me, they weren't trying to get the money out of me. They were trying to get the labour out of me. So I had originally signed a tender document for a set of 6 3-storey townhouses.
Where were they? What suburb?
North Brisbane.
Yeah.
Yep. And then in the process of me signing that, they hit me up for directly after that was built, I was to start another set over at Toowong.
Yeah.
And then they came to me and said, we need both done at the same time. And I advised them that I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And they said, well, could you start both at the same time? I said, I can, but it means it doubles the length of both projects.
Yeah.
So you're not going to save any time.
Would you say that your mental space back then, would you say that, you know, you took the carrot that they were hanging?
No, because this is the thing.
Because at the end of the day, you accepted it.
Yeah, you're only taking the carrot. You're only taking the carrot if you think you're getting shafted. At the time, I didn't.
Yeah.
At the time, I'm thinking, well, I've got A and I've got B.
Yeah.
They're both my jobs. If I start them both at the same time, as long as I can work out a cash flow payment scheme to cash flow the business, and as long as they understand it's not going to go as fast, then we should be the same.
Yeah.
That's not the case. There are many factors that you need to take into play. The biggest thing that I can say is that you're only one person.
Yeah.
And when you split yourself into 2 different jobs of that value, you can only be
never
one
gonna
place
work.
at one time.
Yeah.
So Corey can vouch for you when you say this. There's only one person that cares about your business as much as you.
Yeah.
And it's yourself.
Yeah. And that's rightfully so. Like, and I think the sooner that you realise that, you know, no one's going to save you. So, you know, you can't expect, you know, my biggest thing is I don't expect anyone to have a more invested interest than myself. And I don't, you know, they shouldn't. Rightfully so, they shouldn't. Neither would I. Fuck, if I was doing it, neither would I. So I think if you can, as a business owner anyway, if you can understand that and swallow that with a bit of pride, you'll be sweet. You know what I mean?
And going off that, I mean, there's it's not to say that my employees didn't care about me or my business. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Oh no, I got guys that care about us. No worries, but
I even think that we've probably had some of the same employees at some stage. So I mean, the boys are phenomenal. What I'm saying is that they're not the ones sitting up late at night thinking about some of the things that a manager or a director would.
How are you gonna? The simple things like how are you gonna cover payroll?
Yeah.
How are you gonna pay taxes?
You know?
How are you gonna float the? You know, when you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? These are all the things that, as an employee, you don't think about, but they shouldn't either. It's not their job.
They need to,
but
they shouldn't worry about it.
You know, that's the stuff that, you know.
So I mean, going from that, I look at that scenario, and I ended up going through those townhouse developments, and I ended up pulling the pin at the right time, but not soon enough. You guys will, I don't know whether any of you have experienced this with builders that have gone bust, but there are telltale signs to look out for.
Oh, 100%.
The red flags will be subtle, and it will make you feel nervous before you know why you're even nervous. Like you'll feel funny, but you don't know why.
My biggest tip, like even for myself, is that if it just doesn't feel right, there's a reason for it. If you're getting on a job site and you feel, then they've gone through 5 supervisors, they're pinching at pennies to try to save dollars here and there. They're like, oh, use this material, but don't use this material just to save money money here and there. To me, that's signs. And there's heaps of them, but all I can say is just go with your gut. You will know when you get there, and the first thing off the bat, it's like, oh, this guy resigned. I'm the 3rd supervisor. I don't know what's going on. I got no information about that. Oh, the office isn't getting into contact with me. The job's a fucking mess. The toilets are shit. The bins are overflowed. There's no material. Oh, we are getting the material, but we're going to use this product. Oh, it's slightly cheaper, but hey, can you boys use it? All this stuff all adds up. And, I'm in a position now where if I see that earlier on in the piece, I'll pull the pin before it even gets there. And I'll just get paid up, for what I need to. Or if I know that they are reputable, we'll shift the contract from what it is to hourly rate or something like that.
Yeah, so Cora makes a good point. You obviously want to adapt. If you see those things, exit strategies are always good. Knowing what cards you can deal. But yeah, I just felt that there was something fishy going on. So I made an exit. And then it wasn't long after that they announced their liquidation. Which we were still owed a little bit of money, but pretty much it's still going through QCAT. So we'll wait to see what happens out of that. Pretty much nothing. That's what their liquidators saying basically.
So on those jobs, were you pretty much done? Were they nearly completed?
No, they were. We had just finished. We had just finished the frames on one, and then we had just finished the cladding on another. So the whole set. So we'd finished 2 sets of frames and cladding on the first one that we started. And then then it got to the point where the 2 frames were done. I approached them and I pulled out of the second job. And how did they handle that? Fine. Fine. It was a mediation talk, and it was pretty much discussed though. If you want me to continue, we are going to go slower. They weren't happy about it, but I said that's the reality.
If you could go back knowing what you know now, would you have taken both? Would you have stuck with one, or would you have walked from the builder earlier on?
I would have taken both, but I wouldn't have started them both at the same time.
So you would have said to him, "Listen, I can only start this one now."
The problem with it is that I believe that I had the capacity to do both, but I didn't have the presence on site to do both. Unfortunately. I needed to be there on both sides.
You just didn't have the crew.
I'll go to one site. And then there'll be problems on the other side. So, and unfortunately, chemistry is a big thing. Problems don't get quite solved as fast as you'd like to if you're not there. And I can't blame the boys. The boys only know what they're being taught. And this is a first-time venture for them. They've gone from building houses to now doing 3-story townhouses.
And they were whoppers as well.
They're big townhouses.
Big fucking slopes like this.
Big townhouses. A lot of steel.
A lot
of steel. All cantilevers. Big open voids.
It's a fucking big job. I remember standing at the front of that one, and
massive.
Oh well, I had the conversation with you then, and I was like, "Wait,
this." You know,
that was a big job, but
it's about personalities. I mean, there's going to be guys out here listening that will look at these difficult jobs and get excited. Then there'll be different guys that look at the same job and be nervous. They both might have the same abilities, but doesn't mean that their emotions have anything to do with what their abilities are.
Yeah.
So
and it just comes down to is your company at a point where you guys can do it, you can take it on, confidently. Do you have the team? Do you have the cash flow? Do you have the experience? Like, there's so many moving parts involved in doing it. For me, I'm a pretty cautious guy. Yes, I do take risk, and I do take on jobs that we might not have done, but I'm thankful enough now that I've put guys in positions that that sort of can run things pretty well when I'm not there. So does that mean that we can grow? 100%. But has that happened overnight? No. Like it's taken a lot of time to get to that point. You got to find the guys, you got to mold them, and then eventually you can step into those jobs. But yeah, for the guys that are out there listening, all I can say is just don't rush into, if you see a job that interests you, don't get me wrong, I see jobs that interest me every second, every day. People message me, this job, it's a really good job. But then I have a look at the price, go meet up with the builder, I have a look at the job site, and it doesn't matter how interesting that job is. If all that stuff doesn't get ticked off, we're not doing it. So, I'd rather sweep floors knowing that I'm going to get paid
100%.
than being on an architectural job for a builder that's got the biggest bright lights in Brisbane, but then I'm going to have to
spend the rest of your life paying it off.
Well, that's what I mean. So that's all I can say is still try to find jobs that interest you, but hey, bills need to get paid. So
definitely.
But yeah, so just coming to the back end of that job. So do you think that job was the one that sort of twisted you into the way of, not twisted you, but more put you on the path to get off the tools and, have a bit of, because in fairness, you've had a complete flip now. Like 100%. You were business owner, carpentry business, you were the guy. Now, you're on the other side.
It's a completely different position to be in.
And what made you make that change versus coming to the end of those jobs and then continuing to grow that? Like, what was that line in the sand?
There's two main reasons. The first is, and I'm sure you've spoken about this before, is work-life balance.
Yeah.
I get paid the same.
Yeah.
It's work-life balance.
Yeah.
The second is I see myself at this age, and I was talking before about not even being halfway into my working career, which is why if you're going to make a change in your career, do it before you get past that halfway point in your working career.
Yeah.
I needed to make a change now if I wanted to make a change, and I did.
Yeah.
So for me, it was about risk. I don't want to be taking the risks at 45. Coward! What a coward! Not taking the risks. It's my choice.
Yeah,
I just don't feel like I need to.
Yeah.
I feel like I gained the biggest joy from me owning a business. It actually wasn't the building. To be honest, buildings are quite boring.
Yeah.
All right. It was the relationships I got to build with a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And watching them grow into good tradespeople.
Yeah.
That was the most enjoyable part for me. And to be honest, it's probably one of the most enjoyable parts of the job still.
Yeah.
Is working with younger companies, working with small groups of guys that have a task and a job, and slightly mentoring and assisting them in getting their jobs done the right way. Not that they need my guidance, but when I see flags there, I'm the first person to point it out.
Yeah, but I guess you've got that experience now, being on the other side of it. You know what I mean? You can empathize. You can have a bit of empathy for the guys. When they can't get there.
I've got a job at the moment where we just watched a video just before where there was a lot wrong. I've got a job at the moment where the carpenter he failed to straighten 3 trusses, 50 mil out of plumb, which most people are like, well, that's a lot, but the tolerances on most prefabs are 50 mil.
Yeah.
So it's 55 mil out of plumb.
Yeah.
He's up for about $4.5 grand in back charges.
Yeah.
Because the roof's loaded. We've got to change load pass, engineering.
Yeah.
On the slab and on the trusses. And I have empathy for the guy.
Yeah.
It's like 6 minutes of a relapse of when he was running speed braces that he went over the trusses the wrong way.
Yeah.
So it's upsetting.
Yeah.
I've got a job to do, but at least I can advise him what he needs to put in place in the future.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of just yelling at the guys and saying you're stuffed up. Now you got to start putting things in place so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, you got to swallow that.
Yeah, swallow it and do it on. And we'll work out what happens with those back charges later. But I think people need to realise that you can make all the mistakes that you want to. And there's two ways to learn. You can learn off someone else's mistakes, or you can make the mistakes yourself.
Yep.
But the ones that you make yourself, the ones that you remember the most. And to go through and sit on the sidelines and watch, as a young carpenter, sitting there watching the cruisers go past with the builders' trailers, you don't know the stories that guy had to go through.
In fairness, for all the guys listening out there, if you are one of those kids, let me tell you the truth. Here's the truth. That guy driving it, he's getting $50 an hour. Half of his paycheck's going to his ute. He's going to live in the middle of, let's say Logan, right? So just clarify something. Like, it's not all rainbows and lollipops. If you see the cruisers with the trailers on TikTok and Instagram, it's,
Well, you'd know yourself. There's lots of builders, lots of carpentry crews out there that have all the show, and then they close the next week.
Massive trucks. I've got the crews. This is what we do. This is how we do it. We're the best.
And
we're
I'm
the
not
best.
bagging on these guys, by the way. I'm not bagging.
Don't get me wrong.
These guys.
There's guys out there that have got it, that are actually that walk walk the talk
but
as well.
Even if you are one of these guys that's in that position where you've got a big truck or you're in over your head, it's just important to realise that that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to be in a shit position. Life's not over. You pick up the pieces, you work out an exit strategy, and you start again, or you move on and you do something else.
Yeah.
You don't need to be sitting there thinking to yourself, I'm stuffed. I've got nothing to do. Just reevaluate.
Yeah.
There's always a way out of a position. I've been there multiple times with certain things. You've just got to stop. You got to think, why are you actually doing what you're doing? Is it just for the cruiser, or is it for your family?
Yeah.
Is it just for the job, or is it for your employees?
Yeah.
You've got to have a motivation behind what you do. You can't just do it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
You got to love what you do, or you got to do it for something.
Yeah.
So
I remember having the conversation with you talking about when you made the shift from, having your company and your crew. I remember having the conversation with you back at Red Hill about, supervising and stuff like that. And I remember saying to you, I feel like for you, I reckon it's perfect. You know what I mean? And I think, it's probably been for you, I can tell amongst family and everything like that, it's just leveled you out a lot more. Where with before, don't get me wrong, having the business and everything, it was great, but you could, there was stresses,
oh mate,
bro, there was a lot of shit. There was a lot of stuff, a lot of stress, a lot of stuff like that.
I'm pretty calm. I'm pretty leveled. But there was a lot of stress that we went through. But not that I'm here to talk about my stresses, but I'm here to talk about what.
Oh, it's more just the path.
Yeah, what. I guess what I'm trying to say is that don't be afraid to make mistakes. And if you do make the mistakes, it's not the end of the world. But be aware if you're going to put yourself in a position where you're vulnerable, the mistakes will come a lot more frequently. So there are going to be risks in everything that you do. Every job that you take is a risk.
Yeah. I can tell you right now, we risk it every day, every single day.
I look at jobs every single day and I go, oh, geez, I would never do it for that price. Unfortunately, I'm the guy.
This is for you guys.
I'm the guy.
This is for you guys out there that are doing it. Just
I'm the guy. Yeah, I get approached all the time. I'm on the other side of what.
let's just say Garnett never rings me and says, "Oi."
I get asked all the time, would your brother do the job? I go, not a chance.
Yeah,
There's not a chance. He goes, oh, would you want to sign him up? I said, no. Why not? He's not going to do it. I'm not going to ask him to do it. Oh, okay. Do you reckon he could help out once in a while? No. Oh, why not?
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
Bump me hourly rate up. Pay me in 7 days. I'll be there.
Why would I want to screw him over?
Yeah.
It's not worth it. So this is the industry which you're going to get into. It's going to be tight. It's going to be hard. What that means is you got to have your shit together. I mean, you've got to stop thinking about your carpentry company as a carpenter. It's got to be a production.
Yeah.
It's got to be a system, a train, a moving engine. Every person has to have a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
There's companies out there that do it, that will stand a low set frame in 6 hours.
Yep.
Right? Walk away, no items.
Yep.
Right? I've worked with one of these companies. I won't know their names. I should, because it's good for them.
Yeah.
But they've literally gone through high sets. Do a high set in 2.5 days.
Yep.
Absolutely nuts. Right? And 2-3 items. Amazing. But then you get carpenters that take 2 weeks. Yeah. And the thing's falling apart, like the video.
Yeah.
Great guys don't have the processes in place.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
the guys, let me just say that the guys that are doing these, in 6 hours and 2 days, like, they've built their business to only, primarily that's their thing.
Bread and butter.
You're not going to catch those guys at a childcare centre doing a playscape or anything like that.
No.
Day in, day out, fucking 6-7 days a week, they're going to be doing those jobs.
Yep.
So if you're looking in from the outside and you're like, oh, they must be making mad money. Don't get me wrong, they are, but do they have, a high turnover of staff? Maybe, because who really enjoys doing that back to back every single day?
Calling up 2 cranes on the same day.
Yeah, so
for a high set, so it's.
But
nuts.
it really just depends on how you want to build your business and how you want to do it. I'll interject right now, but if you're, let's just say, for the guys that are listening out there, if you're an apprentice and you're coming to the end of your qualification, you're like, I don't know what to do. I want to make more money, as you probably would. My piece of advice would be is to get qualified, stay with the person that you're with, stay with them until you feel comfortable and knowledgeable within your field as a qualified carpenter. Because in reality, when you're an apprentice and you get qualified, just because you get that bit of paper doesn't mean anything. It's not like an overnight thing. You wake up the next day and boom, you're Superman or anything like that. It's nothing. So I would stay with the guy with where you're at for at least a year, 2 years. And, if you envision and building the business and you want to make more money and take the steps to do it. Go out there, get your certificate do your night school. You can do it while you're an apprentice. You can do it when you just become qualified. Get your Cert 4, get your QBCC licenses under wrap. And if you're doing that, once you've become qualified in that 2-year period, while you're still working for the same guy, you would have had it all by the end of that. And then start small. Get yourself a trailer. Speak to someone like Garnett. You know what I mean? Reach out to those sort of guys. Get yourself in with a builder that does that sort of stuff. And just don't be swallowed up by, yeah, mate, I'm going to give you 10 houses and, back to back. Start small. Work a deal with a guy as a subby that you're primarily doing work for. Get yourself an apprentice and just go out there and do one of those jobs. Do a contract job. See how you go with it. You're going to make money or you're not. You see a contract job as like $3,500. You're like, all right, fuck, I'm going to make heaps of money. It's only going to take me a day. Do the work, see how it goes, and then wait. Find out, what are the callbacks? Do they have any retention that they're going to hold over you? Do they, are they going to, is it 30 days end of month? Are you literally waiting 2 months to get paid for that job? These are all the things that you need to take in consideration when you're starting out, right? Instead of jumping in and going, oh, this builder's going to, me and Johnny, me and my brother, we're going to get a trailer, we're going to go straight out there. This builder's going to give me 10 houses and boom, 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 boom. You go and do 10 houses and then you got to wait 60 days. You haven't been paid in a month. And then that builder goes, oh, by the way, you need to go back and fix this, and that means we can't pay you, or we're holding 5% retention. Did you not see that in an item in the contract? All these things is what you guys have got to think about. So just take it slow, don't rush into it, and just one step at a time. So Yeah, that was my little bit of
that's
advice.
all
You know,
valid points.
because I just think like there's so many guys out there, and I speak to so many guys that are on this side of the coin where they're, you know, still, because primarily a lot of these guys that are listening are chippies or apprentices or whatever in any industry, Sparky, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the principle is the same.
Oh, we say
And,
carpenters. It's majority of the time it is
yeah,
carpenters. And
yeah.
let's face it.
Yeah.
The
They're hungry for more.
The carpenters are the ones that really. I mean, I don't want to be biased, but they are really the trades that get screwed a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're the ones that are hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, and I got a soft spot for them. We're both chippies.
Yeah.
You know, we got a soft spot.
Oh, we get screwed left, right, and center. You know what I mean? As I said to you at the start, we are the trade. No matter what anyone says, I don't care what anyone says. I'll put it out there for the nation to hear. We are the trade that builds the structure that everyone else hangs their shit off. So without that, you know what I mean? Nothing else happens. So, you know, amongst that, there is so many moving parts into carpentry. We are the sole fucking purpose in residential housing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's builders out there that just love to fucking screw chippies. So that's why with me,
sorry to interject here. I don't think that's the objective, but I do believe that and I guess I'm talking more to the builders here. I do believe that builders need to have more of a responsibility put onto them in relation to sustaining our trades. I mean, we know as builders that what rates are going to be feasible for our trades. We can see how many employees, we can see that they need X, but yet we still tell them they're only going to give them X minus 1.
Yeah.
So without having that, we're just encouraging an industry where we're encouraging builders to get burnt, carpenters to get burnt, and encouraging carpenters to just leave.
Yeah.
Which it's a very volatile and hostile environment for contractors in general.
Oh.
Where we're competing on rate, and hate to say it, but some rates are dropping.
Yeah.
It is very, very up and down at the moment as far as getting consistent trades. And when you do find a good trade, they need to be paid accordingly. But I mean, that's an industry that unless you're the big sky and builder, you're the one in control. But
Yeah.
I think whether this is going to be something happening in the future, I think there needs to be more unity between trades to negotiate rates as a group. Not talking union. It's a scary word to say around this industry. But
I fully think, like, don't get me wrong, I get the CFMEU when you're going into EBA job sites, but there should be a regulator for the residential side, because I don't care what anyone says. When a builder says, hey, we're going to give you, this much as the rate, because it's such a diamond of a dozen, there's so many chippies out there, like, they'll eventually pick up one. He might not be able to speak English, but he'll eventually pick up one crew. That'll do it. But I can't stress it enough. The guys that are out there that are looking to get started or that are just started out, you know what I mean? Don't be afraid to walk away. If you don't feel like you're going to make money, or if you feel like I'm only just going to make my hourly rate, I wouldn't even touch. I wouldn't even touch it.
And going off what Corey's saying, if you're in a position where you think you can't afford to walk away, then definitely walk away.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in a position where you need to take this job, something's not working.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you now, like, for me professionally, like with the company, like in the early days anyway, I was doing contracting work, and I was also doing like hourly rate subcontracting work for a builder, because early in the piece I wouldn't make money on the contracting stuff, so then I would go and do the hourly rate stuff, and you'd have to swallow your pride. It's not one way or the other. You don't have to go full hog. I'm doing just contracting work. You know what I mean? Don't swallow. Like, if you're in the shit right now and you have that gut feeling that you're not making money, you're too head in the, you're too deep in the job. I'd be speaking to the builder, the developer, the supervisor, or anything, and just being upfront and saying, hey, listen, I'm too far gone. I need a walk. You know what I mean? And then just go out there and get yourself an hourly rate job. Get yourself.
I had to do that a few times.
Yeah, go get yourself an hourly rate job with a guy that's going to pay you every 7 days.
Yep.
And go do that. You know what I mean? For the money that you're going to lose versus just just staying around on the hope that you're going to get paid. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I think, me and you have both done it before.
Look, you need to definitely spread your fingers and have a couple of pies there. That's for sure. So I mean that's a given. But I'm hoping that your listeners are getting some insight as to, I guess no matter what stage you're at in your career, whether you're started, whether you're thinking about it, whether you're just starting an apprenticeship, that it is an exciting career, and it can take you anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that my journey's ended, but it's taken me a long way.
Yeah.
And whether you've made mistakes, whether you've been screwed, whether you've been successful, those three different outcomes will all benefit you equally. Maybe not financially, but they'll all benefit you equally. The knowledge you obtain through that process is you can take that to any role. It's something nice about knowing exactly what you're talking about because you've lived it and breathed it.
Yeah. And
you're never going to live anything or breathe it if you don't give it a go.
Yeah.
So go out there and have a good crack at it, but I mean, definitely have a good mentor by your side.
Yeah.
Definitely have somebody that you can bounce ideas off.
Yeah.
And not just a mate that you have a drink with at the pub. I mean, someone who's actually in that position.
Oh, someone that's got it. Like I have mentors. Well, I wouldn't say I have mentors because I don't, but I draw inspiration from other people. It doesn't even have to be in our, in our field. But, I would definitely just take a business that you look up to and break that business right down. Yeah. If you're lucky enough that you can get close enough to the owner or whatever to draw some inspiration about them, then do that. You know what I mean?
Now, I've reached out to a number of different professionals, and they are honoured.
Yeah.
Absolutely honoured and taken back. If you ring them up, or if you speak to someone, or you see a nice truck and you think, geez, this guy's around everywhere and he's doing good work.
Yeah.
If you're a young carpenter crew just starting out and you're watching someone doing really well,
yeah,
go across and speak to them. I can guarantee you there'll be a couple of boys there that will be happy to show you things.
Yeah.
They're all in the same industry. We're not here to screw each other. There's enough work going around. Go and speak to the guys that look like they got it.
Send me a message if you got any issues or you want to,
Yeah.
I might still be young, but I've walked a lot of paths with different builders and different developers. Like I'm fucking still in the trenches right now. But send me a message if you want to ask anything. And let me know. I have a lot of strong beliefs about certain things, but on what you should and shouldn't do. But some people will listen and some people won't. But sometimes you just need to walk that yourself. So I think that's it. Unless you got anything else that you want to touch on, but
no.
I want to appreciate.
Want to appreciate.
Nathan will chop that, but no, man. I just want to thank you for coming on. I know you're a busy man right now. You got a lot of shit going on, and taking some time out of your day to come and have a chat. But this is mainly just for the guys that are coming through or that are already there. I'm hoping we gave you guys some advice and some insight on what actually goes on. So thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it. That's it. That's a wrap.
All good.